Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Scorching dragon flames were unleashed by her first soul ring ability Dragon Fire. Dragon Fury was also unleashed at the same time. This caused Wu Feng to look like a ferociously burning piece of coal. Huo Yuhao was expressionless as he went to face Wu Feng's charge head-on. His right hand slapped forward quickly. It was still the Ice Empress pincer. The seemingly simple palm strike of his developed countless changes. While Wu Feng was impulsive, she wasn't weak. She was just like a weaker version of Ma Xiaodao. Her intelligence wasn't low even though she seemed very reckless. However, to her horror, she found out that she couldn't dodge Huo Yuhao's palm strike no matter how many transformations she underwent. She clenched her fists and punched them out towards Huo Yuhao's right palm. Something weird happened at this moment. Huo Yuhao's right palm suddenly disappeared, and Wu Feng's fists hit nothing but air. After she expended all her strength, Huo Yuhao's right palm seemed to reappear elusively and strike her fist. The sound that rang out suddenly seemed as if burning coal had been thrown into a basin of ice water. Steam rose up while the red light on Wu Feng's body dissipated at a shocking speed. She couldn't use her third soul skill now even though she wanted to. A streak of golden light flashed and hit her from the side, and she was sent flying. This second consecutive strike was unleashed by Wang Dong. Wu Feng and Dai Huobin were tackled in different manners, and this was only a competition after all. That's why his guillotine wing didn't land on Wu Feng. Huo Yuhao twisted his head suddenly, and a purplish golden radiance in his eyes shone extremely brightly. A seemingly tangible ray of light flashed in his pupils before disappearing. Shu Lu screamed in horror and instantly collapsed to the ground not far from Huo Yuhao. Fresh blood flowed from her mouth and nose. Dai Huobin's hopes of forcefully unleashing the Netherworld Tiger with her were dashed. Huo Yuhao's spiritual shock stopped that from happening. Shu Lu had no chance of resisting Huo Yuhao's spiritual shock with her rank 29 cultivation. The more it was like this, the better they understood the benefits of participating in the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament, as well as the influence and change the closed-door cultivation had on them by enabling them to find their own paths. Zhu Sikhen, Cao Jinxian, and the Land Sisters didn't look excited now. They were more stunned. As the four of them looked at one another before turning to Huo Yuhao, it wasn't just friendship that was revealed in their eyes. There was even a tinge of admiration. Huo Yuhao's spiritual detection sharing had had a magical effect on how they were dispatched. They just needed to unleash their soul skills and follow the rhythm and speed that Huo Yuhao provided them. Cao Jinxian was extremely awed, as he was a control-type soul master himself. This was true control. It wasn't just about controlling one's opponents, it was about controlling one's teammates too. With such a godlike team leader, he was even confident in fighting others above his level. The Land Sisters let go of the hairnet after Huo Yuhao gestured for them to do so and released Huang Chuqian, Kui Yiji, and Long Shangyue. Zhu Yi came beside Huo Yuhao and looked at the distant Mu Jin, who was in a daze. She wasn't excited, but proud. How could she not be proud with such a disciple? Teacher Mu, I hope that you and your students will take care of our level's hygiene in the future. If your students can't take it, don't bother challenging my class to a competition anymore. After she finished speaking, Teacher Zhu turned around, lifted her head and walked away proudly, whereas Mu Jin turned pale. Huo Yuhao revealed a slight smile on his face. He actually liked Teacher Zhu in this manner. Zhu Yi guided him with this temperament and strictness of hers. He could sense the passion behind her strictness. Although she was harsh on her own students, she was also very protective of them. Those who truly knew her wouldn't forget her. It wasn't just Zhu Yi who walked out of the soul dueling area with her head held high. The students from the entire Class 1 also did the same. They were all feeling exalted. They didn't just win this competition. They won it beautifully. That exhilarating feeling made the students from Class 1 tempted to rush into the venue and battle alongside their classmates. In a dark corner of the stands, the teaching director, Du Weluan, was in a daze. Does he really only have 2 rings? Dean? Why do I not recognize this Huo Yuhao anymore? Yang Xiaosha revealed a smile on his face. It's not just you who's surprised. Even the teachers are awed by his abilities. More importantly, this kid doesn't just possess talent. His desire to pursue self-improvement is even more outstanding. He will become a leading figure of the younger generation if given another 3 to 5 years. I don't think he even used half of his powers when he teamed up with Wang Dong earlier. Dueluan was in awe. Fortunately, you fought for him. Otherwise, such a talent would have been taken by the Soul Tool Department. Yang Shaoxia interrupted him with a sigh. I owe the Soul Tool Department a favor because of this. From this year onward, we shall allow the Soul Tool Department to choose our third-grade students and above once they pass the advancement examinations. This is provided the students are willing to go to the Soul Tool Department. We'll grant them permission to leave as long as they are willing to. Du Weilin was shocked. Dean, we'll lose many talents. Yuhao, be careful. The owner of this voice is of the same level as the elder in the Sea God's Pavilion. Skydream Iceworm's voice was very stern. It wasn't just him. The Ice Empress and Electrolux seemed to have awakened too. Huo Yuhao could even feel a slight tension in his spiritual sea. At this point, a gentle white light surfaced and covered Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong, and Xiao Xiao. Don't resist. I'll bring the three of you to the Sea God's Island. Yang Shaoxia's voice rang in their ears. In the next moment, they felt as if they were flying among the clouds. It was all white around them. Ju Yi and the Class 1 students who were around them only sensed a white light flashing before noticing that the three of them had disappeared. Only Ju Yi was informed by Yang Shaoxia. Everyone, don't panic, she said hurriedly, follow me back to the classroom immediately. Where was the safest place in Shrek Academy? It had to be the Sea God's Pavilion. Old freak dude, it's you? Elder Shen's sonorous voice resonated above Shrek Academy at this point. A streak of bright, yellow light shot into the sky. That blinding radiance instantly covered the entire academy. In addition, a wave of immense aura came from within the academy. It shot into the sky like waves of billowing air. What a Shrek Academy! Are you going to bully us because we're outnumbered by you? Let's compete then. Intense light and flame shot into the sky outside Shrek Academy. There were more than 20 beams of light within the flames, which didn't dissipate as they shot into the sky. They were led by a dark green beam of light that was extremely thick. This beam of light was large enough to almost cover the rest of the beams behind it. Elder Shen stood in the air above Sea God's Island. He continued to take a sip of wine and said coldly, What? Old freak dude, are you planning to wage a battle against Shrek Academy? A figure slowly appeared from within the dark green beam of light. It was a huge old man. His dark green hair flowed freely behind his back. But the funny thing was that he didn't have hair on top of his head. He was bald. This elder's complexion was red and smooth like a baby's. He didn't have many wrinkles either. The only way one could tell his age was through the look in his dark green eyes. They seemed as if he had experienced the vicissitudes of life. The 20 or so beams of light behind this elder lined up and gradually revealed the figures within them. They took different shapes and sizes, but they were undoubtedly all top-ranked individuals since they could float in mid-air with their own cultivations. Over on Shrek Academy's side, figures also started to rise into the air. Many students looked into the distant sky from the windows of the teaching block. Their gazes were all stiff. Such a confrontation between top-ranked individuals was not something commonly seen. This was even the first time that the Inner Courtyard disciples had seen something like this. The Inner Courtyard students from Shrek Academy soon realized that there were more than 30 people from the academy in the air. They outnumbered the intruders and were led by Elder Shen. Elder Shen seemed neither anxious nor worried. He said indifferently, Old freak dude, what do you want with this lineup of yours today? Your body sect wants to reappear in the continent and we're your first target? When the words, body sect, came from Elder Shen's mouth, some of the younger teachers behind Elder Shen looked petrified. No wonder the other party had intruded into Shrek Academy so fearlessly. They were powerful individuals from the body sect. Shrek Academy and the body sect were equally matched on the continent. The other party had their own history too. The elder with green hair that was called Old Freak Do by Elder Shen snorted and rolled his eyes. Little Shen, you're asking the obvious. Why? Have you forgotten what you've done? Elder Shen laughed. Forgotten what? Didn't I just lecture two rascals under you? Ask them what they did. They dared to attack me. If not for the fact that I was giving you face, do you think they would have returned alive? Old Freak Do snorted furiously. Nonsense, nonsense. You beat up my sect members and you're still acting so upright. I won't let the matter rest. I want you to show me where your confidence is coming from. As he spoke, he roared furiously, and a thick dark green radiance shot into the sky. This radiance caused half the sky to be dyed a dark green color. His body ballooned in size and became 10 times bigger in the blink of an eye. His dark green skin turned into huge muscles, and only the shorts that he wore that covered his sensitive area survived. Of course, those shorts were custom-made. Otherwise, they would have been torn apart by his expanding body. The most frightening part was still his soul rings. There were 2 yellow, 2 purple, 2 black, and 3 red soul rings. He had 300,000-year soul rings. Once he unleashed his martial soul fully, he almost crushed the air with his arrogance. Elder Shen turned serious and roared too. He shot up into the sky, and an intense yellow radiance was released from his body. An overbearing aura erupted, and the dense yellow radiance supported the sky above Shrek. Yellow and green were clearly separated in the sky high above. However, Elder Shen's soul rings were slightly inferior to Old Freak Du's soul rings. He had 2 yellow, 2 purple, 4 black, and 1 red soul ring. But he only had 100,000-year soul ring. This also signified that he needed to have at least 2 more 100,000-year soul bones than Old Freak Du. Elder Shen experienced huge transformations too. Under the light of the yellow radiance, he let out a deep groan in the air that forced the individuals from the body sect to retreat 100 meters. Elder Shen's appearance changed completely as the intense yellow radiance spread. He had the body of a sheep, and his eyes were below his armpits. He had the teeth of a tiger and human hands. A pair of huge, weird horns appeared too. His body was more than 30 meters in length, and he even seemed stronger than Old Freak Du. The intense yellow radiance continued to advance, and the 9 soul rings turned into circles of light that moved up and down between the huge horns that were around 5 meters in length. Huo Yuhao and the other 2 had arrived outside the sea god's pavilion through Yang Xiaosha's guidance at this point. Yang Xiaosha was worried as he watched what was happening above him. He said to Huo Yuhao and the other 2, "Enter the sea god's pavilion quickly. Don't come out no matter what. Do the 3 of you understand?" "Yes." The 3 of them answered him hurriedly. They were all shocked by what was happening. This was also their first time seeing Elder Shen unleashing his full abilities. "Don't bother entering the pavilion. Just watch from the door." A gentle voice sounded, and was heard by Yang Xiaosha, Huo Yuhao and the other 2. Yang Xiaosha heaved a sigh of relief as he heard this voice. After bowing in the direction of Sea God's pavilion, his toes touched the ground, and he changed into a white light that instantly rose into the sky. As the Martial Soul Department's dean, how could he be absent when Shrek Academy was under attack? The gentle voice undoubtedly belonged to Elder Mu. Huo Yuhao and the other 2 were naturally safe from danger since Elder Mu was around. Wang Dong said softly, "Elder Mu, it should be a martial soul true body that's just been unleashed. It's something that can only be done with at least a 7-ringed cultivation. It seems very strong. But why is that green giant in a human form? Did his martial soul come from some type of ancient giant?" Huo Yuhao naturally couldn't answer Wang Dong's question, but Elder Mu could. Elder Mu's gentle voice rang out again, "What you're seeing is not just a simple martial soul true body anymore. It's a powerful force that's revealed when soul power that's at least rank 95 is injected into a martial soul true body after a fusion of one's pure understanding of his martial soul. It's a technique that only a transcendent dueler can use. That person is called Dubuzi, the sect master of the body sect. His martial soul is himself." "Body sect?" "Don't tell me." After hearing the words, body sect, Huo Yuhao was shocked. He also remembered what had happened to him in Star Luo City. The entire sky changed because of their battle. One side was dark yellow, while the other side was a domineering dark green. They both occupied one half of the sky. At the point where they intersected, they surged as Elder Shen and Dubuzi fought. This was an extremely frightening duel. Elder Shen's godly doubt eyeball burst forward in mid-air. The yellow radiance behind him struck towards Dubuzi. The dark green giant converted from Dubuzi sprinted in the air with huge steps. He was fearless as he went straight for Elder Shen. The 2 of them collided in mid-air amidst reverberating booms. At this point, both Shrek Academy and the body sect cultivators that were in the air initially all descended rapidly. They returned to the ground. A frightening pressure was exerted from the sky, and it only disappeared when one was around 100 meters from the ground. This was a result of intentional control by both parties. After all, neither side wanted their own people to be struck by the aftermath. It also seemed like Dubuzi had no intention of fighting Elder Shen to the death. Even so, Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao still shook as they stood on the ground. They turned pale too. It was as if the sky was collapsing. Was this a duel between top-ranked individuals? Human strength was actually able to reach such a frightening level. Huo Yuhao was completely shocked. Before today, he hadn't expected a Soul Master's strength to reach such a standard. This was already beyond his understanding of what a Soul Master was capable of. He had witnessed the top-ranked, six-ringed Soul Emperor cultivations of Ma Xiaodao and Dai Yuehan before. While they were much stronger than him, he could still see the gap between him and them. But the abilities that Elder Shen and Dubuzi displayed were beyond his understanding, such that he couldn't appraise them at all. He couldn't even sense the presence of their levels. Elder Mu's voice didn't resonate again. Neither did he explain anything to them. He left the three of them staring into the sky silently. He left them outside and didn't allow them to enter the Sea God's Pavilion because he wanted them to watch this earth-shaking battle. Such a huge battle was rarely seen on the continent. To young Soul Masters, this was also an extremely valuable experience for them. Dubuzi. The sudden collision of Elder Shen and Dubuzi in mid-air caused the sky to blow apart, as if fireworks had been ignited. The dark green radiance behind Dubuzi formed a huge whirlpool-like patch in the air. The yellow radiance behind Elder Shen instantly formed countless huge circles of light. After that, they changed into a huge meteor shower that struck towards the whirlpool-like patch. Huo Yuhao had seen many meteor shower-type soul skills. The strongest that he had seen Erta Ma Xiaotao's Phoenix Meteor Shower and Dai Yuehan's White Tiger Meteor Shower. But those meteor showers were soul skills that imitated meteor showers. They only covered a few hundred square meters at most. But the meteor shower that Elder Shen unleashed was truly mighty. It engulfed the entire area and was boundless. It was as if the sky was being torn apart. But Dubuzi was very powerful too. The huge, dark green whirlpool-like patch formed a funnel-like shape and allowed the meteor shower to strike it. The yellow light disappeared as it entered the funnel. The two of them were at a stalemate right now. The green giant formed from Dubuzi used its hands to grip Elder Shen's horns tightly. While both competed to see who was better, neither could gain the upper hand over the other. The lights on their body also alternated between brightness and dimness while their bodies were half still. Streaks of black light flashed past their sides. The light of stars could be subtly seen amidst the black light. They were spatial cracks. The longer they fought each other, the more frequently the black lights appeared. A black circle soon formed around them, and began to expand outward. Dubuzi, you're really mad. Elder Shen's voice rang in the air. Dubuzi laughed loudly and said, you're the mad one. I don't want to die with you. Let go and we'll go again. You're looking for death. Dubuzi raged and flipped his hands. He mimicked a lifting action while the dark green whirlpool behind him retracted. It was rapidly gathered within his body. The dark green of his body also started to turn transparent, and his size increased even further. His height reached more than 100 meters instantly, and a similar black from earlier appeared around his body. It was smaller than the spatial cracks created by him and Elder Shen earlier, but seemed denser. Elder Shen seemed awed, and the yellow radiance behind him also retracted. His godly Daotai bull's size also ballooned and instantly turned into an extremely domineering presence. Dubuzi glared at Elder Shen furiously. His hand suddenly mimicked a wrenching action, as if he were smashing something onto the ground. A huge dark green ball of light with diameter of over 30 meters penetrated through space and crashed down towards Elder Shen from above. Elder Shen didn't cower away either. A white light that shone as brightly as a diamond flashed between his horns. It stabbed into the dark green ball of light like a bolt of white lightning. A piercing boom resonated for more than 1,000 miles, and the dark green light ball turned into a light ring that dispersed in the sky. Dubuzi snorted and clasped his palms together. The space around Elder Shen suddenly started to distort, and dark green lights appeared around his body like smudged stains. Several huge black holes started to appear too, and the frightening spatial cracks were seemed to be trying to tear Elder Shen's body apart. Elder Shen grunted in disdain. The bright yellow radiance turned into a barrier of light that burst out. The black holes were all mended just like that. Dubuzi was slightly shocked. Mending the sky, what a move. Little Shen, you're indeed worthy as my opponent. But you're still lacking a little. Dubuzi absorbed all the dark green back into his body. As he spoke, his eyes suddenly lit up, and an azure light shone from his entire body. The intense light shone unprecedentedly brightly, and made him seem like an azure green sundae. The entire Shrek city below was covered in this azure green light. Dubuzi shouted, and the dark green whirlpool in his hand turned into a ball of light that shot out. The ball of light shrank as it moved in the air. It left deep gorges in the air as it moved. It was as if its presence couldn't be tolerated in space. Elder Shen bellowed, and his muscles swelled. His entire body seemed to have distended, and he wielded the chicken drumstick weapon to tackle the dark green light ball that came his way. When both parties collided, the dark green light ball stuck onto the chicken drumstick and instantly seemed to stagnate. An immense pressure suddenly descended from the sky. The powerful individuals from Shrek Academy and the body sect teamed up together to unleash a powerful aura. Many colors mixed together to form a light barrier that resisted the frightening wall that came down. A crisp sound resonated in the sky. There was no release of any frightening force. The dark green light ball and Elder Shen's chicken drumstick disappeared at the same time, while Elder Shen was sent flying as his body was stained dark green. It was obvious that he had been struck. Dubuzi was extremely delighted, and laughed, "Little Shen, your soul rings are weaker than mine even if your cultivation is the same. I even possess a special body soul. You're still inferior to me in terms of your level. Concede defeat. If not for the fact that I'm afraid I'll lose an opponent like you, I would kill you now." Elder Shen only stabilized his body after flying for more than 1,000 meters. It seemed as if nothing great had changed after the dark green subsided. Even his aura remained very powerful. However, his eyes revealed his greater impatience. "Dubuzi, stop sugarcoating your words. Do you dare to fight to death with me? I'll bring you along with me even if I die. At least I'll make you unable to provide for yourself." Dubuzi snorted, "Why won't I dare to? I'll at most be heavily injured if I kill you. You're still not powerful enough to make me perish along with you. But don't forget that this is Shrek's territory. If you fight to the death with me here, I'm afraid that Shrek Academy will disappear from the face of this continent." Elder Shen's expression changed. "I dare you. There's nothing in this world the body sect is afraid of doing," Dubuzi said arrogantly. "Don't tell me you've forgotten who started the wave of beasts in Stardow Forest." Elder Shen was furious. "Shameless fellow. You still have the cheek to mention that incident? I don't think you find it a humiliation. Rather, you treat it as your glory. Many people lost their lives because of the body sect. If Shrek Academy didn't resist the wave of beasts, it would have been a full-blown massacre." Dubuzi groaned and said, "What do you mean Shrek Academy resisted the wave of beasts? It's as if you're hinting we didn't do anything. Don't forget what the body sect promised after the wave of beasts receded." Elder Shen said coldly, "Are you reneging on your promise by coming here so boldly today?" Dubuzi replied, "Promise? So much time has passed. I don't remember anything. Even if I renege on my promise, what can you do?" Elder Shen twisted his lips and said, "I never expected that you'd become so shameless." While he spoke in this way, he was shocked in his heart. Dubuzi's words seemed to foreshadow the appearance of the body sect in the world. In addition, they were likely to have a ploy. Dubuzi said, "All right, we've already fought. The body sect and Shrek Academy still have some ties. We're not here to target Shrek Academy. I'm here today not just to demand an explanation. There's something more important. If you return our body sect member, I will turn around and leave immediately." Elder Shen snorted, "What body sect member? I don't know what you're talking about." Dubuzi's expression changed greatly after he saw this scene. "See God's light? How is this possible? How is there still someone who's able to unleash the Sea God's light in Shrek? Buzi, it's been a while. It seems like you've forgotten about me." The gentle voice rang out once again. But only Dubuzi could hear it. You are." Dubuzi was shocked as he looked at the shining, golden sea god's pavilion. His dark green forehead instantly started to glimmer with beads of perspiration. "I can still remember what you left for me," Elder Mu said slowly. "Your brother has the same temper as you. Recklessness is the devil. If your brother wasn't reckless then, he might still be alive now." Dubuzi confirmed his guess when he heard till this point. He was stunned as he asked, You aren't dead yet? How is this possible? Didn't you?" Elder Mu replied gradually, "If I'm dead, you'll bully Shrek Academy." His words were simple, but they struck Dubuzi hard. The intense, golden light instantly flashed in the air and Dubuzi's dark green body shortened by a meter. An intense, dark green radiance was also emitted from his body. Dubuzi was a little vexed as he said, "Dragon God Delor, the battle then wasn't simply about personal feelings. Why did my elder brother have to take a step back? You know the full details of what happened." Elder Mu replied, "I won't debate it with you. You just need to know that the master of the Sea God's Pavilion is still me. I've already asked Huo Yuhao and told him about the body sect. He expressed his will to remain in Shrek. Please return. I won't hold today's matter against you on account of your brother. But if there's a next time, or if the body sect tries to scheme against this disciple of mine in the future, don't blame me for demanding an explanation from the body sect personally. Dubuzi's expression changed. That fellow has become your disciple? Elder Mu answered coldly. That's right. Why? Do you think that you're more suitable than me to guide him? Dubuzi took in a deep breath. Dragon God Dolor, I shall give you face and let the matter rest. An honest man doesn't deal underhandedly. I must also tell you that we won't give up on this kid. You're older than me, thus you should know that we're almost reaching our end. But the body sect still doesn't have a successor. Elder Mu was a little stunned. Why don't you have a successor? Isn't the body sect's seed of inheritance on you? Dubuzi was a little vexed as he explained, but no one new has appeared in the sect for almost 20 years. Furthermore, do you think that the seed of inheritance can just be passed on to anyone? I shall end it here today. I won't touch that kid as long as he's in Shrek Academy. But once he's out, we'll compete fairly. Dragon God, I don't believe that my elder brother didn't leave anything on you even though you're still alive. I'm not your match, but you'll still pay the price even if you kill me. The body sect isn't the only opponent of Shrek Academy either. We'll meet again someday. After he finished speaking, Dubuzi's dark green radiance flared up and burned a hole in the sea god's light. He waved his hand after he escaped. Body sect, retreat. The 20 or so figures he had brought with him escaped rapidly and disappeared in an instant. The golden light in the air also retracted slowly back into the sea god's pavilion. It was not only the Shrek Academy that was restless now. All of Shrek City was also drowned in a commotion over what had happened earlier. Elder Shen landed in the sea god's pavilion. The 4 deans also arrived. Elder Mu's voice drifted out from the sea god's pavilion. Xiaosha, go and appease the people in the city. The rest of you can return. Little Shen, bring the 3 kids in. Yes. Yang Xiaosha acknowledged his words and left immediately. Shrek City was still Shrek Academy's territory. It was also the foundation of Shrek Academy. All that had happened earlier was too strange, and someone had to handle the situation. Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong, and Xiao Xiao hadn't recovered from their shock yet. Elder Shen looked a little dismal. It seemed as if he was unhappy that he had been suppressed by Dubuzi. He brought the 3 of them to the Sea God's Pavilion's 2nd level. Elder Mu lay quietly in his chair. He appeared as frail as ever. Who would have expected that he was the one who had chased the entire body sect away, Elder Mu? Elder Shen was a little depressed as he greeted Elder Mu. Elder Mu smiled and asked, "Why are you depressed? You didn't lose. It's nothing to be repressed by Dubuzi. If I wasn't fortunate, I would have died along with Dubuzi's elder brother. Even though I preserved my life, I'm still disabled. I may not be much stronger than you even if I fought. After all, the Dragon God now is no longer like the Dragon God then." "No, Elder Mu. You can't put it that way," Elder Mu said hurriedly. "You're Shrek's anchor." Elder Mu sighed. "My spine was snapped, and Dubuzi's elder brother's Dubuzi's lethal poison entered my passageways. Although I preserved my life, I can't straighten my back anymore. But it's only through the clash that I managed to attain a breakthrough and escape a catastrophe. Dubuzi wasn't as fortunate as I was. He died of his injuries after hanging on for a while. It's a pity. He was also a hero of his time." Elder Shen was a little shocked as he looked at him. Elder Mu grabbed onto Huo Yuhao's right hand and said, "When I first saw you, I knew that you were a kid with a story. That's because the expression in your eyes was different from most others. Your eyes might have been very clear, but they concealed your pain. Your pain has only disappeared recently. As you said, Shrek is your family. It's also our family. I told Dubuzi when I conversed with him earlier that you're my disciple. He told me that he won't target you as long as you're in Shrek. I understood what he meant. When you graduate from Shrek, he may target you again." Huo Yuhao was stunned. He didn't expect that the body sect still hadn't given up on him. Elder Shen couldn't take it anymore. "Stupid kid, quickly acknowledge your teacher." Huo Yuhao only reacted now. He knelt down immediately and bowed to Elder Mu respectfully. "Elder Mu, please accept me as your disciple." Elder Mu laughed and said, "Good kid, stand up." He grabbed Huo Yuhao's right hand and pulled gently. A gentle strength was injected into Huo Yuhao's body and lifted him up. Elder Mu was all smiles when he saw the sincere look in Huo Yuhao's eyes. The more he looked, the more pleased he was. He couldn't make the proposal to Huo Yuhao to become his disciple with his current status. He could only hint. Fortunately, Elder Shen reminded Huo Yuhao from the side, so he didn't miss out on such a great opportunity. Huo Yuhao tried to test the waters by asking, "Elder Mu, are you agreeable?" Elder Mu laughed. "Silly kid, it's time for you to say it." Huo Yuhao was delighted, and hurriedly said, "Teacher." He wanted to kneel down again as he said it. But Elder Mu didn't let him do so this time by using his gentle soul power to lift Huo Yuhao up. "You will be my closed-door disciple from today onwards. I'm not very particular about the formalities. You don't have to kneel in the future. A bow will do, yes." Huo Yuhao was still very respectful even though Elder Mu wasn't very particular about formalities. If Elder Mu and Elder Shen were not around, he would have jumped in excitement. Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao were envious as they saw this scene, and walked up to congratulate him hurriedly. Elder Mu smiled. "The two of you are good too. Xiao Xiao, learn from Elder Shen in the future. Let him analyze you a special auxiliary type battle soul master. As for Wang Dong, you're a light type soul master too. You can be my disciple in name temporarily." Wang Dong stuck out his tongue and said in a slightly brazen manner, "Elder Mu, this is unfair. I'm a light type soul master just like you, but you accepted Huo Yuhao as your disciple although he isn't the light type. How can you be so discriminatory? I want to be your closed-door disciple too." Elder Mu couldn't help but laugh as he saw Wang Dong's indignant look. He said, "You little fellow. You're the first person to make such a request in front of me. There can only be one closed-door disciple." Wang Dong moved closer as he saw that Elder Mu wasn't angry. He said almost naturally, "It's okay. With your status, you can set a precedent. Who will dare to doubt you? Moreover, both Yuhao and I possess martial fusion soul skills, and are one together. Just take the both of us as the same person." Elder Mu's smile turned a little cheeky. "Oh? One together?" Elder Shen chuckled and replied, "I see that you quite enjoy it. This is not bad either. Both these fellows are good. Since this is the case, I shall accept a closed-door disciple myself too. I'm not much younger than you anyway." Xiao Xiao was quick-witted, and knelt down in front of Elder Shen hurriedly. She bowed to him, "Teacher." Elder Shen lifted her up and chortled, "Little fellow, you must be outstanding when you're under me. Don't lose to those two fellows." Xiao Xiao laughed and replied, "Teacher, I will do my best. Just give me all the items that can enhance my strength." Elder Shen laughed, "Wow, did I accept a closed-door disciple or a little troublemaker? You're definitely not standing on ceremony." Xiao Xiao laughed, "We're on the same side. What's there to stand on ceremony between us, right? I bought you a chicken drumstick too." After she ended her retreat, she had been cultivating with Elder Shen, and was already very familiar with him. She was naturally extremely excited now that their relationship had been confirmed. Elder Mu revealed a stunned look on his face at this point and said, "Du Buzi just left, but someone just came. It seems like it's a good day today." Elder Shen squinted his eyes, and a sharp radiance flashed across them. He was about to make his move. Elder Mu lifted his hand and stopped him. He said, "The visitor is a guest. Just invite him in." Elder Shen was shocked and asked, "Into the Sea God's Pavilion?" Elder Mu smiled and replied, "Yes, into the Sea God's Pavilion." Although Elder Shen was shocked, he wouldn't go against Elder Mu's instructions. But he never recalled any outsiders being allowed into Sea God's Pavilion before. Elder Shen had already disappeared from where he was as a radiance flashed. He arrived outside the Sea God's Pavilion at the next moment. He looked into the distance and said coldly, "Since you're already here, you don't have to sneak around anymore. Come out." As he spoke, he grabbed at the air, and a huge citrine hand appeared in the air. The hand opened wide and grabbed in one direction. Suddenly, countless thin black cracks appeared in air in that direction. Although these cracks couldn't compare to Du Buzi's, they still existed. "Elder Shen, this is not a way to receive your guest." A dim golden radiance lit up. As a halo spread instantly, it rippled, and the distorted light rays cancelled out Elder Shen's huge hand. A figure also appeared in that direction. The person that appeared wasn't tall, but he was plump. His long, elegant robe was embroidered with gold patterns. He placed his hands behind his back and smiled at Elder Shen. Wasn't he the Hall Master of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy's illustrious Virtue Hall, as well as the person in charge of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy? It's you? Jing Hongchen. Elder Shen was also shocked. Although he could sense his strong presence, he didn't expect it to be the Hall Master of the illustrious Virtue Hall. Jing Hongchen smiled and said, Elder Shen, you shouldn't be surprised. Since you want something from the illustrious Virtue Hall, I've come to personally pay a visit to Elder Shen and Shrek Academy. Elder Shen's eyes flashed with a divine light as he thought to himself, this Jing Hongchen came at such a coincidental timing. Did he come with the body sect and only show himself at this point, or is it really a coincidence? Elder Shen didn't reveal his thoughts, and spoke indifferently. You're a guest, please come in. As he spoke, he turned around and walked into the Sea God's Pavilion. Jing Hongchen was the one who was shocked now. He was already shocked when he had been discovered. With the concealment-type soul tool that he had created himself, he believed that he was undiscoverable as long as he didn't move. But Elder Shen managed to trace him. He was even more surprised that Elder Shen invited him into the Sea God's Pavilion. Jing Hongchen smiled and replied, I believe that soul tool research is only in its preliminary stage. The world belongs to soul tools in the future. When the day comes when soul tools no longer rely on Soul Master's soul power as a motivation, Soul Masters will be eliminated. I wonder if Elder Shen is convinced by this belief. Elder Shen replied coldly, it doesn't matter whether I believe it or not. Anyway, you won't live to see that day, it's not important whether I'll live to see that day, Jing Hongchen said very casually, it's enough if it happens in the Sun Moon Empire, and it will happen in the Sun Moon Empire. Star Luo, Heavenly Soul, Do Ling, and even your Shrek Academy are too far off in the aspect of soul tools. Elder Shen laughed, oh? Are we that far off? I don't think so. Since when were you able to exploit this gap to defeat Shrek Academy? We only sent half of our main forces for the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament that just ended. But we still won. This proves that your advantage in soul tools is not decisive yet. Elder Shen was surprised that Jing Hongchen nodded after hearing his words, you're right. I received news from your academy that expressed your interest to hold an exchange with the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. I was very happy then. But for some reason, your academy changed its mind. If it's because of the tournament, I don't think it's necessary. The Sun Moon Empire is magnanimous. A tournament is a tournament. We won't develop a hatred because of accidents during the tournament. After pondering for a moment, Jing Hongchen said, what if I exchange something of equal value for it? I've told you that we're keeping the sword to research Xiaotao's transformed martial soul, Elder Shen replied coldly. Jing Hongchen stiffened a little, then said in a deep voice. Can I take a look at her? Elder Shen was the one who hesitated now. Elder Mu's voice rang out at this point, yes, you can. Bring him to the second level. Jing Hongchen's expression became terrified as he heard this voice. He quickly stood up. Although he hadn't appeared with the body sect earlier, he had clearly witnessed the fight between Elder Shen and Dubuzi, as well as how Dubuzi was deterred by Shrek Academy's golden light. Jing Hongchen was very sharp even though he had not reached the level of a transcendent Dalor. He immediately recognized that the external world's understanding of Shrek Academy was erroneous. The strongest in Shrek Academy wasn't the Dao Tai Dalor Elder Shen, but someone else. Even Dubuzi had to retreat in front of this guy. How powerful was he? That's why he sneaked into Shrek Academy after the body sect left, and didn't appear as uprightly as the body sect. Jing Hongchen said in a deep voice, Elder Shen and Unknown Elder, I have at least 3 automatic Class 9 soul tools with me now. If I'm attacked, these soul tools are powerful enough to destroy the all of Shrek City. They can't be stopped either. He was around Yang Xiaozhi's age. It was normal for him to call Elder Shen and Elder Mu his elders. It was an obvious showing of his weakness to boast about this was Shrek Academy. There were more than 5 transcendent Dalor from what Jing Hongchen knew. Regardless of how strong his soul tools were, he was only rank 93. He wasn't a match for so many transcendent Dalor at such close distance. But he came prepared. He also believed that Shrek Academy wouldn't really attack him. It wouldn't fit their standards. You're our guest now that you've entered the Sea God's Pavilion, Elder Mu said indifferently. If I really wanted to touch you, your soul tools may not be able to unleash their full might. Jing Hongchen didn't retort, but revealed a sense of relief. He laughed and said, it's my honor to be a guest of the Sea God's Pavilion. He came to the second level quickly under Elder Shen's guidance. Elder Mu laid in his reclining chair, while Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao stood behind him. Huo Yuhao was very anxious. Before he underwent his retreat, he had once asked Elder Mu about Ma Xiaodao's condition. Elder Mu had told him then that Ma Xiaodao was fine, which gave him peace of mind as he retreated into cultivation. But it seemed like she was in grave condition from what Elder Shen and Elder Mu said. How could he not be anxious? Jing Hongchen was drawn to Elder Mu. Elder Mu might look like a frail elder and didn't unleash any of his powerful aura, but Jing Hongchen was certain that he was the one who had previously forced the body sect away. Elder Mu's abilities and cultivation couldn't be seen just by using one's eyes. It was unexpected that Shrek Academy had such a powerful figure. He felt surer and surer that he was right to have been cautious. Greetings, may I know Elder's name? Jing Hongchen bowed slightly to Elder Mu. Elder Mu smiled and said, my name is Mu Yen. I believe there's not many in this world who still remember my name. Jing Hongchen was entirely lost as he heard Elder Mu's name. He couldn't recall such a name from his memory or investigations into Shrek Academy. He was warier of Elder Mu because of this. Elder Mu said to Elder Shen, little Shen, bring him to take a look at Xiaotao's condition. Yuhao, the three of you shall come along too. Yes, teacher. Huo Yuhao represented the rest and acknowledged Elder Mu. He quickly walked towards Elder Shen. The entire space turned golden as their surroundings flashed instantly at this point. Jing Hongchen's hands trembled subconsciously, but he soon calmed down. But the intense yet pure undulation of light left him shocked. A sense of peril rose in his heart. He was knowledgeable, but he knew nothing about the mysterious sea god's pavilion. The pure light didn't seem to be unleashed by someone, but emitted from the wood that surrounded them. What exactly was the sea god's pavilion built from? The door in front opened as the golden light flashed. They walked into a quiet chamber one by one. Elder sister. Huo Yuhao saw Ma Xiaodao, who lay flat on the manifold mysterious ice bed. He was so anxious that he wanted to rush over, but he was stopped by Elder Shen. Ma Xiaodao looked a little pale, while her originally red lips were now purplish-black. They carried a sense of evil to them. Her entire body surged with black flames as she was engulfed by the golden light. Although they were oppressed by the golden light as soon as they surged slightly, they still appeared to be unyielding. Elder Shen shook his head at the anxious Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao bit his lips and his fists clenched unwittingly. It had already been 2 months since the tournament had ended. He hadn't expected his elder sister's condition to be so disastrous. She could only lie on the ice-cold bed, and had to be sealed by the powers of light. Huo Yuhao's eyes turned red as he looked at Ma Xiaotao's face and reminisced about her usual shrewishness. Elder Shen gestured to Jing Hongchen, who stepped forward. He stopped before the light that engulfed Ma Xiaodao and took a careful look at the black flames. After a moment, he said in a deep voice, can I get closer to sense the change in her soul power? Yes. Elder Mu's voice resonated. Following that, everyone was shocked as a golden figure appeared beside Jing Hongchen. This figure belonged to Elder Mu, but it was only an illusory projection of him. Elder Mu's back wasn't bent over now, but straight. His entire body shone a bright gold. Although it was only a projection, it seemed very real. Everything around him turned golden as he stood there calmly. The intense light circulated in the air and caused Wang Dong's light-type martial soul to flow out unwittingly. Even his arms that contained soul bones lit up. Jing Hongchen couldn't control his emotions, and exclaimed, what soul skill is this? Although he wasn't a transcendent dueler, he was still a rank 93 title dueler. But Elder Mu's current avatar was already beyond the boundaries of his understanding of soul masters. As the best soul engineer in the world, he was certain that this wasn't achievable using soul tools. Elder Mu was more than just a simple light projection. Jing Hongchen was awed by the immense power that he possessed. A soul master actually possessed such a power? It was an eye-opener for Jing Hongchen. But he was more horrified. He suddenly realized that Elder Mu's claim that he could stop him from unleashing his soul tools wasn't a joke. Elder Mu lifted his right hand, and a door appeared in the halo that covered Ma Xiaotao's body. It could squeeze in one person. Ma Xiaotao's flames didn't surge violently because of this door either. That was because the entire room was like a giant light seal that suppressed the black flames in her body. Jing Hongchen took in a deep breath and tried to compose himself. He walked 2 steps forward to Ma Xiaodao and used his hands to test the black flames that surged from her. After that, he pressed his hand to Ma Xiaotao's wrist and sensed the condition of her body. He then took 2 steps back and quickly exited the halo. No one noticed that when he pressed his hand to Ma Xiaotao's wrist, his fingernails shook slightly. That change wasn't even noticed by Elder Mu. Elder Mu said gradually, "Can you tell me which is better in your opinion, the illustrious Virtue Hall or Sea God's Pavilion?" Jing Hongchen was slightly stunned. Elder Mu's question might seem very vague, but he understood immediately. He was asking about the advantages and disadvantages of Soul Masters and Soul Engineers, as well as a comparison between the illustrious Virtue Hall and Shrek Academy. After pondering for a moment, Jing Hongchen said, "I don't dare to comment, as I don't know much about the Sea God's Pavilion. Let's take Elder Shen and I as examples. Elder Shen will beat me within 100 meters. But I can perish along with him. If the distance between us is expanded to 1,000 meters, I can escape. If it's 10,000 meters, I am confident of beating Elder Shen if he doesn't leave the battlefield of his own accord. In a war, my side will win." Jing Hongchen sounded very resolute and unhesitant as he got to his last sentence. Elder Mu was even a little moved. "It seems like you are very confident." Elder Mu laughed slightly. Jing Hongchen laughed bitterly. "I believe that you can tell that I lack confidence. Soul tools have an advantage in a war, but Shrek's position on the continent can't be shaken in more higher-end battles. Neither the illustrious Virtue Hall nor the Body Sect can shake Shrek Academy." Elder Mu stole a glance at him. It was obvious that he could tell the meaning behind his words. If the illustrious Virtue Hall and Body Sect couldn't do it themselves, what if they combined their power? "Jing Hongchen, I once went to the illustrious Virtue Hall. Your development in soul tools is indeed beyond my imagination. I agree with one point of yours. When soul tools no longer rely on Soul Masters' soul power one day, Soul Masters will be eliminated. Just like how soul tools replaced the Tang Sect's secret weapons. But I have to add something. Even if that day really comes, Soul Masters will still be the most powerful. That's because only powerful Soul Masters can unleash the greatest might of even more powerful soul tools. Do you agree? Elder Mu, you're indeed admirable." He bowed slightly and tried his best to repress the shock that he felt. "I'm here for another reason. Many months ago, Shrek Academy agreed to an exchange between our academy's students. But it was put aside for some reason. Both the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy and Shrek Academy are top-ranked academies in the continent now. I believe that this exchange is necessary, and I feel that it will improve integration and learning between both parties." Elder Mu answered, "It's fine for us to have an exchange, but can you ensure the safety of my students? In addition, what can my Shrek students learn from your academy?" Jing Hongchen seemed to have expected this question, and answered without any hesitation, "I can ensure their complete safety, and I'll swear to that by the illustrious Virtue Hall's honor. During the exchange period, your students will receive the best guidance. If they are capable enough, they can even enter the illustrious Virtue Hall to learn." Elder Mu replied, "There's no evidence to prove your words." Jing Hongchen said, "If you're worried, you can send Shrek Academy's teachers with them. You can even send many of them to tag along." Elder Mu shook his head and said, "That'll be unnecessary. The exchange is fine. Send Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen to my academy before bringing my students to your academy. I can guarantee that they'll learn in my academies in a courtyard. You shall personally send my students back and bring your students back to your academy once the exchange is over." Jing Hongchen replied, "The Sun Moon Empire is organizing the tournament, and everyone will be watching us. We'll become a laughingstock if we do anything behind your backs. I'm willing to come to Shrek Academy to act as collateral, and I'll only return once the tournament is over and your students are back safely. However, the illustrious Virtue Hall shall be blameless if anything happens to them during the tournament, all right? That's a promise. You shall bring them here 2 years from now. I will ask little Shen to send my students to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, including Huo Yuhao." Elder Mu said, "That's a promise." Jing Hongchen was also elated. Although he had been demeaning Soul Masters and elevating the status of Soul Engineers, he was clearly aware that the development of Soul Masters was very crucial to the growth of the illustrious Virtue Hall. Especially since Shrek had been around for years, learning even a little from them was beneficial to the overall enhancement of the illustrious Virtue Hall. Perhaps Shrek Academy could also gain some knowledge of soul tools from the illustrious Virtue Hall. But it was pertinent to note that Shrek Academy didn't belong to any empire, while the illustrious Virtue Hall belonged to the Sun Moon Empire. This difference was bound to benefit the illustrious Virtue Hall more greatly, and allow them to accumulate more long-term profits. There was another reason why Jing Hongchen agreed so readily. It was that Elder Mu proposed for Huo Yuhao to go to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. He wouldn't have to worry about Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen's safety with Huo Yuhao as an exchange student. The statuses and potential of the students sent out by both academies were equal. In addition, Huo Yuhao had twin martial souls. He had to expend a lot of effort to master his martial souls. Even if he specialized in soul tools too, he wouldn't be able to focus much on them. At least to him right now, Shrek Academy would be sending Huo Yuhao to ensure that the students both academies sent out were of equal standing. Elder Mu smiled. Since things are settled, you can leave now. Jing Hongchen bowed once again and said, "Thank you, Elder, for your kind treatment. I want to ask you something before I leave. Can Shrek have an even deeper exchange with the Sun Moon Empire?" Elder Mu picked his brows. Shrek Academy is Doluo Continent's Shrek Academy. The Sun Moon Empire is also the Doluo Continent's Sun Moon Empire. Jing Hongchen was slightly moved. "All right, I understand." He turned around and left after he finished speaking. "Wait a minute." Elder Mu stopped Jing Hongchen. Jing Hongchen asked, "Do you have something else for me, Elder?" Elder Mu smiled and said, "You're the first outsider to enter the Sea God's Pavilion in all these years. It's also not a place that one can come in and leave easily. Leave a Class 9 soul tool behind and teach us how to use it. Think of it as your admission ticket into the Sea God's Pavilion." Admission ticket. Jing Hongchen was stunned as he looked at Elder Mu. He didn't expect him to suggest something like this. This was an obviously blackmail. Furthermore, this admission ticket was a little too pricey. "Elder, you're bullying me." Jing Hongchen laughed bitterly. He might be a little more headstrong if he hadn't seen Elder Mu's avatar. But he was a little hesitant and fearful in foreign territory and inside the unpredictable Sea God's Pavilion. Elder Mu smiled without saying anything. He remained calm as he looked at Jing Hongchen. Jing Hongchen discovered to his horror that the walls, floor, and ceiling all started to exude a dim golden light. It was as if a formless hand had gripped his throat. "Elder, you invited me into the Sea God's Pavilion." Jing Hongchen laughed bitterly. He was trying to hint at Elder Mu's lack of scruples for demanding an admission fee. Elder Mu smiled slightly and said, "I invited you into the Sea God's Pavilion, but I didn't invite you into Shrek Academy. Although it isn't some secret territory, I have to think of the students' safety too. If you're unwilling to pay the admission fee, I won't force you. But you'll have to stay here with me until the exchange 2 years later." "Remain here for 2 years?" Jing Hongchen's expression stiffened. The illustrious Virtue Hall and Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy would be a mess if he stayed here for 2 years. Without him holding the fort, the soul engineers under him couldn't be repressed easily by anyone. Elder Mu might seem very friendly, but he exerted great pressure on Jing Hongchen. Although he was confident that he had a fighting chance if he went all out, there was no doubt that he would remain here. Jing Hongchen took a deep breath and nodded his head. He said, "Since this is the case, I shall follow your orders. It's my fault that I entered Shrek Academy without permission. I shall leave behind Soul Tool as a gift." As he spoke, Jing Hongchen lifted his hand and fumbled around his chest. A metal chip that looked extremely thin appeared in his palm. Once he'd left the Sea God's Pavilion, he leapt up into the air, and a pair of dark golden wings opened behind his back. He disappeared almost instantly. He wasn't willing to remain in Shrek Academy even a second longer. Jing Hongchen had wanted to get back what belonged to him, yet had ended up suffering even more losses. He hadn't managed to get back the Class 8 Judgment Sword, and had even lost a Class 9 Soul Tool. It's important to know that Shrek Academy hadn't had a Class 9 Soul Tool prior to this, as Class 9 Soul Tools were only utilized for strategic purposes even in the Sun Moon Empire. Even though the Class 9 Soul Tool that Jing Hongchen had given Shrek wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst either. He'd chosen Hongchen's blessing because it wasn't offensive at all. Its core formation was very resilient and wouldn't be overcome easily. However, Jing Hongchen wasn't exactly returning empty-handed. He'd seen Elder Mu, and had gained an even deeper sense of Shrek's background. This had been his greatest reward. Furthermore, he'd made other arrangements. Failure was the mother of success. He wasn't afraid of being repressed for once. Despite how depressed he felt, Jing Hongchen had several other ideas. However, he almost spat blood when he reached the soul tools that he'd set up beforehand. Jing Hongchen had set up 8 automatic soul tools over 1,000-meter distance before he'd entered Shrek Academy. 4 of them were Class 9 soul tools, while the other 4 were Class 8 soul tools. With them in place, he could remotely mount an attack on Shrek Academy and Shrek City with the push of a button. Even the most powerful individuals wouldn't be able to resist an attack of such a magnitude without sufficient preparation. They might be able to escape, but ordinary soul masters and all of the buildings present would be destroyed. But when he reached the locations where he'd placed these Class 8 soul tools, he realized that only traces of them were left behind. All of them had disappeared. He immediately realized that Elder Mu must have done something to them. He used his remote to test them out, but didn't get a reaction. It was obvious that their receivers had been destroyed. Bastard, I knew I should have had that old man equip them with self-destruct devices. Damn Shrek Academy. Jing Hongchen cursed in fury. He didn't act like how he had in the Sea God's Pavilion. However, his temper disappeared as quickly as it had come. He turned around to look at Shrek Academy, an evil radiance appearing in his eyes. He snorted coldly, then turned around again and quickly left. Elder Mu, we've succeeded. Xian Lina and Shen Duo reported the good news to Elder Mu. Where had Jing Hongchen's soul tools disappeared to? They'd taken them away, of course. Elder Mu had stalled Jing Hongchen in the Sea God's Pavilion in order to buy them enough time. Elder Mu smiled and said, I hope that your soul tool department will be able to make some progress this time. However, take due caution, it wouldn't be a good thing if such powerful soul tools were to explode. Xian Lina said, Elder Mu, please rest assured. We'll only research the core formations for now. We won't take them apart without understanding them. Even when we do, we'll only do so in the academy. Fan Yu's already taken them back to the academy so that we can begin researching them. Huo Yuhao was stunned as he listened from one side. He only barely managed to piece together that Elder Mu had most likely instructed the two soul tool department deans to gather up some powerful soul tools. Qian Duo looked at Huo Yuhao and couldn't help but laugh. Little Yuhao, you must be curious. Well, Jing Hongchen snuck into our academy and was discovered by Elder Mu. Elder Mu also sensed what he'd set up outside the academy and told us to go and gather up his soul tools. Of the soul tools he set up, for our Class 8 and for our Class 9. No matter how deep the illustrious Virtue Hall's coffers are, this will definitely be enough to make them feel a pinch for some time. Huo Yuhao was stunned. He clearly remembered the auction prices for the top-ranked soul tools sold at the auction house. The illustrious Virtue Hall had definitely suffered a heavy loss since they'd relinquished these 8 soul tools alongside the Hongchen's blessing that Jing Hongchen had left behind for Elder Mu. Elder Mu passed the Hongchen's blessing to Xian Lina and said, study this soul tool too. I tried it out just now, Jing Hongchen wasn't lying when he explained its usage. But don't ruin it, I have other uses in mind for it, yes. Xian Lina excitedly received it. Even though she wasn't young anymore, she was still as excited as a little girl right now. I'll save elder sister no matter the price, so long as I'm able. Huo Yuhao answered resiliently. Elder Mu said, Yuhao, Wang Dong, let me ask you this, do the two of you know why I let Jing Hongchen enter the Sea God's Pavilion today? Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong looked at each other, then Wang Dong said, are you trying to stamp your authority on the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy and the Sun Moon Empire? I've heard from Teacher Wang that the Sun Moon Empire's development in soul tools has been extremely rapid. It seems that the beginnings of a war are brewing. Elder Mu didn't judge Wang Dong's analysis and turned towards Huo Yuhao. He asked, what do you think? Huo Yuhao answered, I have the same general idea as Wang Dong. However, I also think that you seem to value the exchange and interaction between us and their students that you discussed. Elder Mu nodded and said, both of you are right. Stamping my authority, scaring him, and reaping the benefits. These were some of the reasons that I let him enter. However, the main reason was to fight for time for all of you. For us? Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong were stunned. Elder Mu replied, my existence is Shrek Academy's greatest secret. Only the elders of the Sea God's Pavilion currently know about me. Yet, I revealed myself in order to fight for more time so that you young people will have time to develop. This is because I can't protect Shrek for much longer. Teacher, Huo Yuhao was shocked. Elder Mu smiled and said in a carefree manner, all people will eventually die, unless they manage to overcome that barrier. But doing so is simply too difficult. I've already been alive for over 200 years, death isn't scary to me. Both Dubisi and I suffered critical injuries back then, but I managed to ascend to rank 99 because I overcame my limits in that life and death battle. That's also what has allowed me to stay alive until now. Just this makes me very fortunate compared to Dubisi. I've clearly been able to feel my body's degradation over these past few years, it's irreversible. I'm not exactly sure how long I have left though. At the very least, I have 3 years, while at the most, I have 5 to 6 years. I can't protect Shrek for much longer. That's why I need to use what limited time I have left to do something for Shrek. If I were still in good shape, it'd be best for me remain in the dark. In that case, I'd be able to use my power to greatly rock the Sun Moon Empire even if I can't decide the result of the war. However, I can't do so now, my body's on the decline. The only thing I can do is instill fear in them by letting them know of my presence in order to stall them from doing anything for now. In fact, the reason that Elder Mu had allowed Jing Hongchen to enter the Sea God's Pavilion wasn't as simple as he'd said. There had also been a deeper meaning behind his actions. The next 2 years will be very important to you all. There won't be any time for you rest. Yuhao, you must go to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy in 2 years. Wang Dong, what about you? Wang Dong was dazed and hesitated. Teacher, I don't really like soul tools. I don't have any talent in them either. However, Yuhao and I, Elder Mu nodded slightly and said, your martial soul fusion won't disappear simply because you're distanced from one another. You aren't inferior to Yuhao in terms of talent, but your path of development will still differ in some ways. As such, I hope that you'll remain in the academy in order to further your learning while he goes to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Wang Dong hesitated, as he was still unwilling to part with Huo Yuhao. Furthermore, it would be an entire 3 years of separation. However, he didn't say anything against it, as it would still only happen 2 years from now. Elder Mu squinted. Jing Hongchen was right. Soul tools will enter every household in the future as they continue to develop. They'll inevitably replace the cold weapons that we have now. This is also one of the reasons that the war is inevitable. The other 3 empires are also developing soul tools much slower than the Sun Moon Empire. I'll only be able to fight for up to 10 years of time from now. After that, many things will change when the war comes. Wang Dong asked, Teacher, why didn't you kill Jing Hongchen today? Elder Mu replied, killing him would only cause the Sun Moon Empire to go all out. Furthermore, he wasn't lying. Many of the soul tools on his body were very threatening. Both parties would have suffered if we weren't careful. In addition to this, we couldn't afford to put Shrek's many years of foundation at risk. Jing Hongchen is extremely powerful and adaptable. He's able to make accurate choices decisively when he's forced to. He'll become a huge enemy of Shrek in the future. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.